Okay guys, so to go ahead and get started with this mini stocking, you are going to want a G size crochet hook. I am using a boy. You will also need a stitch marker, a tapestry needle, and a pair of scissors. You will also need 2 different colors of yarn. For this tutorial, I am going to be using this gray 4-weight yarn, a medium 4, and this will be my secondary color. Right there, this is any medium 4-weight yarn will work for this project. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, to get started with this miniature stocking, you will want to start at the toe. So you will want to pick the color to start with that you want your toe and your heel to be. So for this video, I'm going to go with this teal color, and then the body of my sock will be the gray. So let's go ahead and get started with the toe. Okay, so to begin, we are going to start with the magic loop. Sorry that my nails are not freshly done, but I really wanted to get this video out for you guys. If you don't know how to do a magic loop, there are lots of videos out there on how to do it, or I can get one going for you guys. Just leave me a comment and let me know if you'd like to see how that's done. So once you have your magic loop, you can chain up 1, single crochet 8 times into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now for this pattern, I am going to be working in the round. I will not be working in rows as I do not like the look of having joins. So go ahead and tighten up your slip knot, and we are going to go on to round 2. So for round 2, we are going to single crochet into our first single crochet that we put into the magic loop. We are going to skip that chain 1. We are going to do a single crochet into the first stitch. You then want to place your stitch marker in that same stitch that you made, because we are going to be working in the rounds and we want to keep track of where our beginning is. So now that you've put that stitch marker, you are going to do a single crochet 2 times into each stitch around for an increase row. So we will end up with a total of 16 stitches. Let's go ahead and get started. So we've already put our 1 single crochet into that stitch. I'm going to go ahead and add a second. Go into the next stitch, put 2 single crochets. And just continue that around for a total of 16 stitches. Okay, now for row 3, we are just going to single crochet in each stitch around for a total of 16 stitches. So go ahead and take your stitch marker out. Go into your first stitch. Add your stitch marker. And go ahead and single crochet in the next 15 stitches. Okay, so I do want to back up one more stitch just before the beginning of our row, because we are going to want to change our color. So when we finish off this stitch, we are going to want to pull up our main body color for the sock. So for me, this is going to be my gray. So go ahead and grab that color, just kind of put it next to you, because we are going to be using that. Because beginning row 4 through 8, we are going to use our main body colored yarn. So to do our color change, we are just going to begin our single crochet into the stitch before the beginning, chain up or pull up a loop. And instead of yarning over and finishing this stitch, we're just going to go ahead and grab our secondary color, or the main color, and pull that through. And now for this pattern, I am not going to cut off either color. I am going to just kind of leave them behind the work and pull it up as I go along. I do have a hair right there. And I'll go ahead and show you what I mean by that. So let's go ahead and start round 4. So we are going to pull our stitch marker out, and working with the main body of the sock, the main color for the sock, I'm going to kind of crochet over this tail. You are just going to single crochet into each stitch around for rows 4 through 8. Go ahead and put our stitch marker. So there's 1 stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. So we are going to have a total of 16 stitches at the end of this row. Oh, kind of broke my yarn there. I'm going to go back one. Okay, so we are coming up to the end of round 4 with a single crochet in each stitch for 16 stitches. So we're just going to do the same thing. We are going to move up our stitch marker. We are going to pull that out, do our first single crochet, put our stitch marker back in. Okay. And we are going to continue. So let's go ahead and do that for the next 5 rounds. Rows 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so I am coming up onto our last stitch. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to chain up 1. We are going to keep our stitch marker just so we know where our first starting point was. And we are going to go ahead and drop this yarn. Okay, so when you have that marker, you've chained up 1, you do want to cut this yarn off. This is the only time during the color changes that we are going to be cutting our yarn off. I'm going to go ahead and do that and fasten off with the gray, kind of tighten that down, again leaving that spot so we know where our beginning chain is. So this was our last one. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pick up this yarn that we never cut off. We are going to find the First stitch right here, we're going to count over 3, 1, 2, 3. And we are going to take that yarn that we never cut off that is still attached to our ball. We're just going to go ahead and pull that up and pull it through. Okay, we're going to chain up 1. We're going to go ahead and single crochet into this same stitch. So now we're going to start working the heel. We are going to single crochet into the next stitch, half double crochet into the following stitch, and then the spot where our stitch marker is, remember that is going to be for this stitch right here, so we're not going to want to go into that one. We want to go where we placed our stitch marker, and we are going to want to do a double crochet right here. Double crochet. And so this is the stitch that we just worked into, because that's our previous, so we're going to do a half double crochet in this following one right here. And then 1 single crochet and 1 more single crochet for a total of 2. So 1 and 2. Okay, so we had single crochet, half double, double, half double, single, and single. So that is for row 9. Okay, so for row 10, remember we are working in the rows, so we are going to turn our work. So we do want to chain up 1 and turn. We're going to be skipping this first stitch, and we're going to work into the second stitch from the hook, and we're going to work a total of 4 half double crochets across the next 4 stitches. So remember, skip this first stitch, go into the second stitch, half double crochet, do your second half double crochet, 3, and 4. Okay, so from here we have a remaining 2 stitches left in the row, and so what we're going to do is we are going to skip this stitch and we're going to slip stitch into the last stitch. Okay, just like that. For row 11, it's going to be slightly similar, and this is going to be the last row in the heel. So as you see, this is kind of what we have going on right now. So for row 11, with that same color, I am going to chain up 1, turn my work. We are going to skip this first stitch, and we are going to half double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So we're going to skip this first one, go into this one. We are going to half double crochet 1, half double crochet 2. So we have 2 more stitches left. We are going to skip this stitch and slip stitch into the last stitch. Okay, so we only did a total of 2 stitches in this row. So we chain 1, skip the first one, half double crocheted again, skip the next stitch, and single crochet or slip stitch into the last stitch. So now we are going to go ahead and tie off with this yarn. We are done with it until we get to the top. So go ahead and cut that off and pull that aside. Okay, now that you've cut off your yarn, you want to make sure that you chain up 1 to fasten off. Go ahead and pull that tight. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. We can take the stitch marker out now because we are going to use it for our next row. And you're going to have a couple tails right here that you will want to sew in. The reason we didn't cut this yarn first off is we can just carry that up, and that's just going to be one less end to crochet or sew in. So we have the toe of our heel, or excuse me, the toe of our sock right here. We have the bottom part of our body of the sock. We have our heel. Now we're going to go ahead and work the body, And so for this, we are going to start in the middle, because remember we had only worked 2 stitches plus the slip stitch right here. So we are going to start in the middle, and we will do a single crochet here. So we are going to start here in the corner. So our first slip stitch, or excuse me, our first half double crochet, this is where we're going to start out for this next row. So I'm going to go ahead and put a stitch marker there. If you guys want to go ahead and do that, because you see how we have 1, 2, 3 stitches at the top of this row. And we are going to have to create stitches along the edge. Sorry about that. So for this part, we are going to have to pick up stitches along the edge of this. So we are going to pick up 3 stitches along each side of the heel. So we'll start here, we'll do 3 more, and let's go ahead and count. 1, 2, oops, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we will do 9 stitches around the top of the sock, or however many you have, but if you're following me, it should be 9. And then we'll do 3 more right here up at the edge. So let's go ahead and get started. So go ahead and grab the main color yarn that you are working for the body of your sock. And we are going to want to attach into this first stitch at the top of the heel. So we are going to attach however you choose to do that. I am just going to slip this bad boy on, chain up 1. And because I did that, I am going to work a single crochet back into that stitch. And that's going to be my first stitch. So let's go ahead and put a stitch marker there. So you see that? That's my first stitch. Right there. Here's our heel. Here's the top of our heel. So we are going to work. And I like to work over the top of my tail yarn just so I have less to sew in. Okay, so working the top, here's our second stitch. And here's the third one for the top row of the heel. So now we're going to have to create and pick up 3 stitches along this. So wherever you can get your hook, just go ahead and go in and pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through, 1 single crochet. I'm gonna go into here, there's 2. I think I'll go right into the same little guy down here. Oops, right here. Okay. So you see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the top. We will have to add 3 more on this side for a total of 9 along the heel. Okay, so now what we're going to do is work along the top part of our sock, and I had counted out 9 stitches for this. So let's go ahead and just single crochet across the top. So you see this is where our previous yarn was for our heel. We're going to skip that stitch, go into this one. That will be stitch 1. Kind of make sure that's tight. There's going to be a little bit of a gap right there. Go into the next stitch for 2. Three. So just working along the top part of the heel or the ankle. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and my last stitch right here is 9. And go ahead and pick up 3 more stitches along this edge. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you see how we just kind of worked along the top part of our sock, and here's our heel. So now we are going to work into our first stitch with a single crochet. So this is going to be row 13. There's my first stitch. Go ahead and single crochet into there. place my stitch marker because we are going to be working in the rounds again, and no more back and forth rows, just in the round. So we see our heel, it's kind of shaping up a little bit. So let's go ahead and work this for the next 6 rows. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and do that for a total of 7 rows, and so we'll stop on row 19 and we will add the top part. So let's go ahead and work this row together, and then I can send you on your way. So we have, let's go ahead and count how many stitches we have all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So we have a total of 18 stitches around. Okay, so that was row 2. So I am going to continue this for another 5 more rows, and I will meet you back here. Okay guys, so I did decide to do 1 more row. So I did a total of 8 rows with the main body color of gray. So I am coming to the end of the 20th row in total, the end of the 8th row for my ankle. And so next we are going to change color right at that last stitch and then cut our yarn. So here I am, the stitch before the last one. So I am going to pull up my other color right here. And again, however you choose to do your color changes, that is up to you. I am just going to go ahead, hold on like that, drop that. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and pull up this color, and I'm not going to attach it yet. We are going to begin our single crochet on that stitch before the last stitch. Go ahead and pull up that color to finish the stitch off. Move your stitch marker and we will begin the first stitch of the last round. So this is our main working yarn that is attached to our ball. If you would like, you can go ahead and cut off your gray at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that, get that out of the way so we don't have to work with that. I am going to sew over the tail, or excuse me, single crochet over the tail. So this is our first stitch right here. So I am going to go ahead and go into there, place our stitch marker. And now we are just going to single crochet along the top of the sock. After this row, we will be doing the hanging hook part. So we are just going to, and again, if you single crochet over the top of your tail ends, you will not need to sew them in. You will just need to go ahead and clip the tail end. You can weave the remaining part in if you would like, but I am just going to go ahead and work over the top. About halfway, I'm going to drop that out, kind of tuck it in there so it doesn't get in my way, and continue along the top of the sock till we get to our stitch marker. Go into that last stitch. Okay guys, so this is what our sock is looking like now. If you would like to end now and not put a loop on here, you can just slip stitch into the next stitch and tie off. What I'm going to do though is I like to do a little loop, so I am going to do a chain up 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, make sure you don't twist this, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, okay? And then I am just going to slip stitch into the following stitch where our stitch marker is, just like that. You can take that stitch marker out, okay? So that's kind of what we have right there. And then I'm just going to slip stitch in the last stitch to really fasten that off. Chain up 1 and cut our yarn. We are done. You will want to go through, sew in the ends or cut the ends that you did work over the top, the remaining portions. So to finish off, I chained up 1. I'm going to go ahead and pull that tight. Just shove these ends here, and there you go, guys. We are all done. That is our sock. And if you'd like to kind of go in, you know, you can push that heel out, finagle it a little bit more. And there you go. You have yourself a little stocking. Great job, everybody. And these make great Christmas gifts or stocking stuffers. So I really hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember to push the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for joining me.